We're back off a recess. So is there any more discussion on the motion? Alderman Giannattasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the members of the board. Based on the police chief's testimony, based on the facts, we all know that crime is up in Milford. The best way, the best approach, the best course of action to fight crime is to hire more police officers. We know that Chief Mello requested this in the beginning to put into the budget. It was not included. I'd like to make an amendment to add 4 police officers, new officers, page 49, section J, 4 new police officers in the amount of $254,720 included on top of the overall department, and I have to get you a total.
The amendment was to add up, do you have the totals, Alderman Giannattasio?
I have a point of order, Chairman. Isn't there a motion currently on the floor that has been seconded that's being discussed? How can we have a...
This is an amendment to the main motion.
Amendment to the main motion?
He's making an amendment to the original motion.
To the motion. Okay, very well. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Director Peter Aradisi, would you be able to include the 4 new officers and give us a department total based on the amendment that's proposed, that's on the floor? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Alderman Giannattasio, yes, I'd be happy to give those figures to you. And so that would increase the position total on page 50 to 144 positions. And that would give a revised position total of $10,614,570. And if we go to then regular wages, at the beginning of the police department budget on page 43, that figure would go into the change to regular wages, account 514111. And again, I'll repeat the figure, $10,614,570. It would also increase 1/5 fiscal week to $52,883. And if I may also add, we would have to increase the contractual wage adjustment, which is at the end where the position totals were, to add an additional $1,200. That's $300 for the productivity bonus times 4 new officers. So that would be an additional $1,200 on top of the figure that I just gave you. And I can read that revised total if you'd like.
Thank you, Peter. The amendment motion was made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Just as background, each department comes to the budget with a wish list, things that they would like for their department, but after discussion at both the administrative level with Peter and myself in December, and then again with the Board of Finance, and then finally the Board of Aldermen, some of those wish list items are narrowed down. As you know, some of the items that were initially proposed in Chief Mello's budget, in the police department budget, were removed, and we have found alternative places for those to be funded. Some, for example, over $1 million are being funded through ARPA, things like the police body cameras, That was a big expense that was in the proposed budget that the department came back in November of 2021. We found an alternative place to fund that. The police cruisers, part of the budget, found an alternative place to fund that that's not going to cost taxpayers any money. One of the other additions to the police department budget that we found an alternative place to fund was 2 new positions in that department, 2 social worker positions. Again, the only department, I believe, that has had an increase for this year in positions is that police department budget, with 2 new social worker positions that your board recently approved. The testimony that Chief Mello provided just a few weeks ago was that these 2 new positions, even if they were brought on, we would not see it for another 2 budget cycles. And I believe, and I'm paraphrasing, but you could go back to the testimony from the night that he provided his budget presentation, and he said that absent clairvoyance, he would not be able to tell you the need in 2 years for these positions. But right now, he did not say that all crime was up. He said that certain crime was up, certain crime was down. And there's an adjustment. And I do know that the state legislature has tackled some of the concerns just recently with some new bills that pertain to justice. And hopefully some of the issues that towns, not just Milford, but across the state and really nationwide have been experiencing, some of those concerns can be addressed with some of the new legislation that just came out last week that the governor just signed. This budget, as it is presented right now from the Board of Finance, under the operating budget, has no new positions. Again, the only department that I'm aware of that has a new positions, which are the 2 positions in the police department budget, are being funded through the ARPA funds.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there any more discussion on the amendment? Alderman Vitale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for, kind of reminding us the testimony of the other night. But, I'm around the city a lot, driving here and there and walking on the boardwalk, and we have a lot of incidences at the beaches. We talk about road incidences where we have dirt bikes and ATVs roaming the streets and really having no regard for traffic lights, having no regard for other cars on the street. The parking lot incidences where people have been mugged and stole from, just on my street alone, what's happening, hearing it from my people, from my constituents as far as what's happening in these parking lots, whether it be food at the grocery stores and all of these kinds of things. Perception is reality. And when you perceive something and and you think something's happening, it's probably happening. And I know he talked, and the mayor and the chief talked about the idea these individuals wouldn't be put on for another year or so. But if we don't get to that point of putting more people on, we'll never get to the point of doing any of that and getting rid of those and taking care of those little things. So I'm in favor of it, just to know that down the road, we will have something and supplementing what you had indicated, the fact of counselors, but you're not going to send a counselor down the beach to break up a melee. You're not going to put a counselor on the road to stop a dirt bike. You're not going to put somebody in a parking lot. I mean, there's all types of things that are happening, and people, as far as I'm hearing, people are really disgusted with this, and not only what's happening within the country itself, but here in our own little town of Milford, the small city with the big heart, in that we're supposed to be looking after the welfare of our constituents. So I agree with what you're saying, but I think the perception is reality with our people out there, and that we need to do something, and we need to do it now so that in the future we will be where we want to be. So thank you.
Any more discussion on the amendment? Alderman Giannattasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. I don't know if the mayor's aware of this or not, but they had to reroute buses today because Durham School Bus Company, there was a big theft there, catalytic converters. I don't know if any of you are aware of that, but I know probably the people here in the audience, the Board of Ed is. So, this crime situation is a daily thing, and it's not going away. And the only way that you can remedy this is by hiring more police officers. And yes, they have to go through the academy, they have to be trained, and that does take a year. That's why I feel strongly about this, because the sooner we act, the time will come and they will be on the streets protecting all the citizens of Milford. I mean, there's all kinds of crime going on. There is muggings up and down Route 1 at the Post Mall, all the activity that we have. We have 5 exits off of 95. We have the biggest truck stop in the state. We have a tremendous shoreline. We have beaches. We have people that come here for recreation. The police need support. I'm surprised that it wasn't put into the budget. If you want to fund this through ARPA funds, I'm okay with that. If the funds can be used and we can put these 4 positions in through ARPA, like all these other things that you brought to light, Mayor Blake, then let's add this in, because this is the most critical piece. The most critical piece. This is going to make the difference. There's no other way to stop crime than to have a bigger presence out on the streets, out in the neighborhoods. We have a downtown, a very active downtown, restaurants, bars. We have it all. We're blessed. But we need to take action. And I'm surprised that you're not standing up for public safety and supporting these 4 positions. It's really, it's really surprising to me that you didn't add this, at least through the ARPA funds. You did have an opportunity to do that, and that's another missed opportunity. So I don't think that we should miss an opportunity here. We all represent the city, all 5 districts. I mean, this is ultimately is our budget. We're going to take custody of this budget tonight. Now, we heard from the mayor. If the mayor's not in support of it, that's his prerogative. But we are a board. We are a body of people. We make the final decision. So I'm asking you on the other side, please add in 4 more police officers. Thank you.
Any more discussion on the amendment?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Giannattasio, you paint a very dark picture of Milford, a very bleak picture of our town, our community. I see sunshine and summer days on the beach, and you see crime. To be responsible doesn't mean that you just throw money at a problem, especially when it's taxpayers' money, especially when it's money that has to come from somewhere. By suggesting that throwing $500,000 of taxpayer money, increasing taxes by $500,000 is going to fix the problem, and the only way to fix the problem is very narrow. As you know, there are things that we're doing in this budget, things that we have done recently, even as recently as our last aldermanic meeting, to make sure that some of those police, to make sure that we have all the shifts backfilled. We talked about the police dispatchers contract, or the public safety dispatchers contract last month, and how making sure that we're at full strength for having public safety dispatchers would then buoy our ranks of police officers, because they wouldn't have to backfill in the dispatch center. That's going to put more cops on the street. Even the additional amount that's being funded here in the parks account to have parking officers, not full sworn in officers, but parking officers address that. That means that we'll have additional police officers for patrol. They will not have to be dealing with the parking issues that we have. These are some of the creative ways that we can put more officers on the street, enhance our police force, not 2 years from now, but right away, that are not going to just tax our residents. The gut reaction from this board, the officers of the city, can't just be to tax more. There's other ways that we can put more officers in the street. rather than just tax, Alderman Giannatasio. That can't be your magic wand for every situation where you say, let's throw more money at it. Let's find a way that we can tax the residents of Milford. There are other ways to enhance public safety, and we're doing it in this budget. We're doing it with the administrative changes, Alderman Giannatasio. You can't just solve every problem by taxing the residents.
Alderman Giannatasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm simply going by the recommendation of a renowned police chief who's respected throughout the state. We have one of the most successful police departments in the state, and we're recognized for that. He is the expert, Mayor Blake, not you. So if you want to be short-sighted and you want to try to make this about tax, we've realized a lot of savings here tonight. So you need to be intellectually honest with yourself and stand up for public safety. If you don't, that's okay. We'll do the heavy lifting. We'll make those hard choices, those hard decisions, if you're having a hard time with it. So I say we call it to a vote. And if it fails, it's on you, because you didn't put it into the budget, and it was a need. It's not an ask, this is a need. We have to address the problem. And like I said, buses had to be rerouted today, Mayor Blake, due to the theft of catalytic converters in our school system. Thank you.
Any more discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, all in favor?
I do.
Alderman Parente.
Thank you. Through you, Chairman, good evening, everybody. I think public safety is paramount to every single person up here. All of us care about this city. We all want every citizen to feel safe here. Mayor, can you tell us, when you initially had conversations with the chief, elaborate a little bit for us about his comfort with keeping those positions not at this time filled? Thank you.
So in several departments, there is what's called a BR3, a request for new positions. This year, in the operations budget, we did not move forward with any of the BR3s, including the police departments. Again, the police chief testified in front of this board that this would be something that wouldn't be online for another couple of years, that he did not know the need in a couple of years. He did not know what types of crimes would be on the upswing, what types of crimes would be diminished, but he put those requests in large part because right now we did have a difficult time backfilling some of those positions. One of the reasons why we have a difficult time backfilling positions is because the construction industry is at an all-time high, and we have a lot of our officers taking private duty jobs on almost every single street in Milford, because we have the gas company going full strength. We have Frontier running new fiber lines. We have utility companies going bananas and requiring police officers to ensure that there's safe streets. So there is that need, but are there ways that we can get around the need for additional police officers from some of those private duty jobs? Yes. We could have more trained flagmen or certified flagmen, and that would allow some of our police officers to take some of those backfill overtime jobs. That's his concern, making sure that each of the patrol shifts, making sure that each of the shifts that we have are at full strength, without having to call back some of these officers, because that does put a stress on our police officers when you have to do that. We are doing things, even in this budget, though, that I mentioned, to try to make sure that we have more officers available. He and I discussed that at our December meeting with our city finance director. We discussed the fact that we would not be moving forward with it, and I think he was satisfied. I know that the request is, I know that there was a question about that at our budget meeting, and he did say that these 4 budgeted positions would not come online immediately. It would be something that would take a couple of years in order to bring these people on, if if it was put into the budget. And he said that at 2 years from now, he did not know what the needs were of the city of Milford from a police standpoint.
Any more discussion on the amendment? Alderman Willis.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, through you. Public safety is definitely a priority, and I can understand that. However, I don't think that, I'm not convinced that adding these positions will get to that goal, and I think it's reckless, and I think the taxpayers at this point cannot, they can't afford this. So I'm against this amendment. Thank you.
Alderman Vitale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Mayor, I think I have to take deference with what you're saying. Obviously, intellectually, we don't want to spend any money, but the fact remains, go tell it to those people who got mugged. Go tell it to the people who just stole whatever they did and the crimes they committed. We have an obligation as representatives of our people to keep them safe. As Alderman Giannatasio had indicated, we're 5 districts, and you hear from your constituents. And the fact remains that, your mindset is bleak. You accuse us as being bleak. You have a sunshiny mindset, but the fact is these things are happening. And when we talked to Peter Iridisi, where did you get the $150,000 for this and that? And he said, it was projections. Projections. All we can do is project. But when we see and hear of needs, we need to project so one day we meet our goal. And, so the point would be that we need to do something today in order to protect us from tomorrow. So, again, I appreciate your commentary on the fact that we have a bleak attitude, but the fact is, the reality, it's reality. You go downtown on a Friday night, you see thousands of people lined up a street block away to get into places. There's trouble. There's trouble in River City. But the fact is, we have to be honest enough to say, we can face it, we have a resolve, and our resolve is to look to projections to get more people hired on the police department so we can attain the safety that we need to do and need to have in this city. So go tell it to the people out there whether the taxes that we're saving is going to amount to anything, or is it better to spend that money in their safety and when they go out in the city and either shop, have fun, or whatever they need. They need to be protected. Thank you.
Alderman Moffett.
8 years ago, in the middle of the morning, I took a walk out of my house down to the beach, came back 30 minutes later, and my house was ransacked. Everything was torn to pieces. The closets were strewn about. My wife lost several $1,000s in jewelry, scared 2 cats into the attic. It was a tough time. I'm not sure 1 more police officer, 4 more police officers, or 8 more police officers would have prevented that. There are people out there, people desperate for money for drugs, kids desperate for attention from their parents, and they're going to do bad things. The fact of the matter is, in the city of Milford, a city of 54,000 people, there were 33 major crimes committed last year. That includes rape, murder, assault, and robbery. 33 crimes out of a town of 54,000. That's 97% better than any other town in America. That includes big towns and little towns. This city is safe. And by the way, we have 8 jobs just sitting to be filled. They haven't been filled yet. So we're not just, we want to get 4 more positions. We got 8 sitting there waiting for people to fill them. So until those are filled and we can see what's going on, we're coming out of pandemic. We have kids, other people who've gone through a traumatic 2 years of pandemic lockdowns are coming out now, and we'll see in a year or 2 what happens. In 2 years, the chief said himself, I don't know if I'm going to need them. I might not. Let's fill the 8 we have now, and then we can decide maybe if we need 4 more later on. I'm going to vote against this.
Any more discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call vote, Madam Secretary, please.
Alderman Archiola. Alderman Broster.
Abstention due to professional reasons.
Alderman Casey.
Yes.
Alderman Gurman.
Yes.
Alderman Giannatasio.
Yes.
Alderman Harla.
No.
Alderman Marlowe. Alderman Moffett.
No.
Alderman Mulrennan,
No.
Alderman Pacelli,
No.
Alderman Parente,
No.
Alderman Vitro,
No.
Alderman Vitale,
Yes.
Alderman Willis,
No.
8 noes, 5 yeses, and 1 abstention.
Oh, sorry, Madam Secretary, could you repeat that, please?
8 noes, 5 yes, 1 abstention.
The amendment fails. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Going to the original motion. Any more discussion on the original motion? Alderman Gurman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, I don't know if it's an amendment. It's not really an amendment. It's really just a concern with the growing Board of Education budget. They're asking for another $2.2 million increase this year. That's not including health insurance, which is another $4.5 million increase. Over the years, we've seen the enrollment decline roughly 20% over the last 12 years. Enrollment has declined, yet they requested an increase in the budget of around 30% over the last 10, 12 years. So we see enrollment declining, yet the budget keeps going up every year. And this is the majority of our budget. And so with people struggling out there, there's higher costs with inflation, gas, fuel, food, everything. And our per pupil expenditure is pretty high around the state compared to around the state. So it's really not an amendment or anything, because certainly we don't have the votes, but I'm just concerned with the rising costs with our Board of Education budget, with the declining enrollment. In the foreseeable future, the enrollment is declining as well. So I think we need to be a little tighter. A lot of different departments have come up with a flat budget, and I'd like to see that with the Board of Education someday. So just a concern. Thank you.
Any more discussion on the original motion? Alderman Marlowe.
Good evening, through you, Mr. Chair. I guess to Peter. Good evening, Peter. Just looking through the annual report, and I was looking on page 11, and it says that the estimate is that the general fund balance will be $11 million lower than this current fiscal year. And it says it's expected to be offset somewhat. Can you tell me how much what you're projecting that'll be offset by?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Alderman Marlowe, are you referring to the unassigned fund balance for the general fund?
It says it would be, it's on page 11, and I'm reading what this says. It says, if estimates are realized, the city's June 30th, 2022 budgetary general fund balance is expected to be $11 million lower than June 30th of 2021 budgetary general fund balance because of the use of that fund amount to balance the budget. An expected budgetary surplus will offset this decrease. So I was just curious as to if you have any projections for that, what that difference will be.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the Alderman, yes, that 11 million refers to the use of fund balance from the prior budget. And so that would then give the total unassigned fund balance would be about $20 million in the general fund.
No, he wants to know the surplus from last year and also give the total fund balance.
Oh, okay. Through you, Chairman, to the aldermen. So we had an estimation of a budgetary surplus of about, looks like 8.3 million in 6/30/21, and the projection for the total fund balance itself, I had mentioned the 20 million for unassigned, and the total fund balance, including the 11 million, was projected to be about 35 million, which was close to the audited financial statements. So if you take the 35 million and just set aside the 11 million, that's about a total fund balance of about $24 million.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Any more discussion on the original motion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call vote. Madam Secretary, please.
Alderman Archiola?
Yes.
Alderman Brewster?
Yes.
Alderman Casey?
No.
Alderman Gurman?
No?
Alderman Gennatasio?
No.
Alderman Harla? Alderman Marlowe?
No.
Alderman Moffett?
Yes.
Alderman Morenin?
Yes.
Alderman Picelli?
Yes.
Alderman Parente?
Yes.
Alderman Vitro? Alderman Vitale? Alderman Willis?
Yes.
Nine yes, 5 no.
9 yes, 5 no. The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, at this point, if we could take a brief moment of recess while the finance director calculates the final mill rate and the final taxes due.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll take a recess. Alderman Harla. Use this one.
Bill Morgan? All right. Here's the fix. Okay. I move to make a motion to approve an ordinance establishing a budget for the city of Milford for the fiscal year 2022 to 2023, setting the mill rate and establishing a due date in accordance with the provisions of the Connecticut General Statutes and the Charter of the City of Milford. Whereas the Board of Finance of the City of Milford has made estimates of the income and the amount of money necessary to appropriate for the expense of the City of Milford for the fiscal year commencing on July 1st, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023, and classified such expenses under the appropriate headings, departments, and appropriations as more fully appears with the proposed final fiscal budget submitted to the Board of Aldermen in accordance to Article 6, Section 2 of the Charter of the City of Milford. And whereas the Board of Aldermen, having met and conducted a public hearing, has considered the proposed fiscal budget and has made changes therein pursuant to Article 6, Section 3 of the Charter of the City of Milford. And whereas the Board of Aldermen, in its deliberation and voting on said budget, has estimated the revenues for the 2022-2023 fiscal year in the amount of $238,374,038 and authorized appropriations for the 2022-23 fiscal year in the amount of $238,374,038. Now, therefore, it be and hereby ordained and acted by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Milford as follows. The proposed fiscal budget for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023, as amended by the action of the Board of Aldermen pursuant to law, is hereby adopted and ordered to be filled with the city clerk. That taxes for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023 at the rate of 26.65 mils upon the rateable estimate within the limits of the City of Milford and are hereby laid and levied to meet the expenses of said budget. Said mill rate is set on the predication that it is estimated that the $425,500 of said levy will be granted for elderly exemptions, State of Connecticut, and $653,873 will be granted for the local tax relief program for the elderly. $360,638 will be granted for local tax relief program for the veterans, and 97.85% of the resulting levy will be collected during the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023. Said taxes shall be paid on the grand list of October 1st, 2021 and shall be due and payable on July 1st, 2022, provided that the taxes of any person shall exceed $200. The first installment thereof, but not less than 1/2 of the amount of such taxes shall be due and payable the first day of July 2022, and the remainder due payable on the first day of January 2023. But any taxpayer may pay the total amount of tax for which he or she is liable at the time when the first installment shall become payable. Such a tax rate shall apply to all districts in the City of Milford. Taxes to be raised, $205,009,666. Total appropriation, $238,374,038. Total revenue, $238,374,038. This ordinance shall take in effect in accordance with the Charter of the City of Milford.
Thank you, Alderman Harla. You read the motion. Is there a second? We got a motion and a second. All in favor? Any discussion? I know there's going to be a discussion. Alderman Giannattasio. there it is. Go ahead, Tony. You're loud enough.
You got it.
You can just talk on mine. Go ahead. No, you can talk from there.
No, it's wired. You want to come over? You want to sit in the chair? Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Give it help.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to say it's been a pleasure going through this budget process with all of you and the new members as well. Sometimes I think, maybe if we didn't have two different parties, the results would come out a little bit different. I'm just disappointed in the public safety amendment that I proposed tonight. I thought that could have been common ground. We could have agreed on that, and I proposed even funding it through ARPA, as you know. I think it's important. I think it sends a positive message that, we're reacting to an ongoing problem. And I have nothing but love for Milford. I mean, that's why I'm here. My intention from the beginning was to get involved, to make a difference, and, to help, assist, guide, take recommendations from the professionals that come before us. When we had our hearings, we spent a lot of time, a lot of hours, and, listening to them and their concerns. And yes, everything does come down to, taxes, and we've realized a lot of savings in this budget, which I'm proud of. And, to the credit of Peter Aradisi, Mayor Blake, his hard work, and all of us. I mean, we all count, and I just want to thank you. I'm just gonna, keep fighting for what I believe in, and, hopefully, we can someday agree. But with that being said, I just can't support this budget the way it's presented without the public safety portion. It's important. It's important to me. I mean, I've had people in my district, that were at the mall, that a resident that lives up in Great River that was, mugged, her purse was snatched, she was fighting off these, teenage kids, and, I just hear things day after day, and I don't know if they're gonna get better anytime soon, but I would like to stay ahead of the curve by putting in these police officers. That was my intention, and knowing that I did the best that I could under the circumstances that were before me. So, Mr. Chairman, I've been through these budget processes with you from the beginning, Mayor Blake, Alderman Vitale, and everyone else that's, come and gone. So, but you've been here with me for a long time, and I appreciate all your hard work and your dedication to the city. I know that you have many years here, prior to being chairman, majority leader and planning and zoning and all that. So I have nothing but respect for all of you. I just want you to know that, but I just wish that things, could be maybe looked at a little better and not so political. So thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Giannattasio. Any more discussion on the motion? Mr. Mayor.
To the members of the board, this does complete the 2022-2023 budget cycle, and I do know how much time and energy you have put in through the last month and a half to make sure that Milford moves forward, even when we have spirited debates like we have tonight. it is for the betterment of the community. These debates inform our decisions, and they make sure that the best decisions will be made. Even when I may not agree with all of the points that are being made, they certainly are a part of my consideration for not just this budget, for future budgets as well. And I think they're very important in a democracy. And I think that this budget before us is very responsible. We had some cost drivers that were significant. We have done our best to continue to drive down the mill rate. We have passed a budget, and we're about to adopt a mill rate, and that mill rate is a full mill less than we had a year ago. That is a good accomplishment. Again, there are going to be some people this year that pay less in taxes and some people that pay more just because this is a reval year. But this board certainly did all that it could to make sure that the costs were reduced as much as possible. The work that you did over the course of the last month and a half brought down the mill rate by a half a mil. So that was a goal I know that each of you had, and we were able to bring it down a full mil from last year, from 27.65 to 26.65, and I know that the taxpayers of Milford are going to appreciate that, and the hours that you put in, the review that you have gone through, I know that it is welcome to people that actually have to pay their taxes. So thank you very much for all your efforts in this process.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also would like to thank each and every one of the aldermen for all their time they put in and all their honest efforts to both make the city a more efficient city as well as the taxes aren't going to be increased that much. Many of the residents are very, very worried that they're going to be taxed out of their town, but we kept everything down as much as we possibly can without taking away any services. So thank you again for all your efforts. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Peter Iritici, for your efforts. And with that, I'm going to ask for any more. Alderman Harlow.
Take your microphone if you could. Thank you. I'd just like to say a quick word to reiterate what the mayor had to say with Chairman Vitro and Minority Leader Giannatasio. This was a tough year. This is only my third budget hearing, but it was by far the most difficult. A lot of decisions that we had to make were difficult decisions. We were up against a lot of different parameters. And I just really want to thank everyone working together to make some really, really difficult decisions. But I think at the end of the day, I think the city is going to be a better place than it already is. And I just want to say again, thank you. And on that note, Alderman Vitale, is it true? Is it your birthday? I don't know. So if the rumor I heard it was, I just want to wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you, Alderman Harlow. Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A roll call vote, Madam Secretary, please.
Alderman Archiola? Alderman Broser? Yes. Alderman Casey? No. Alderman Gurman? No. Alderman Giannatasio? No. Alderman Harlow? Yes. Alderman Marlowe? Yes. Alderman Moffett? Yes. Alderman Merenin? Yes. Alderman Pacelli? Yes. Alderman Parente? Yes. Alderman Vitro? Yes. Alderman Vitale? No. Alderman Willis? Yes. 9 yes, 5 no.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Good job.